AAA EDC here, back again with another knife video. This is the WE Knives Roxi 4. This is a Todd knife and tool design, and it's a WE Knives build. And WE Knives, of course, has taken the knife industry by storm. By now, they're an established brand, but they really changed the face of quality, the level of quality of knives coming out of China, and really set the gold standard for fit and finish for production. Reasonably priced knives. And so the design again is Todd Knife and Tool. Todd Knife and Tool is two brothers. One brother is Seth, the other brother is Zelric, is the YouTube reviewer named Zelric42, and he is a well-known knife reviewer on YouTube. And so if you're not subscribed to his channel, go ahead and check him out. He is fantastic, and they've really put out some good designs. I believe they did the malware, the Best Tech malware, and they did the WE Roxi 2, which is not quite a smaller version of this, but it's similar. A lot of their designs are Wharncliffe blades, and I'll explain more about that as we go in here. But again, this is the WE Roxi 4, and this is the WE Roxi 4 for a reason. It is a 4-inch blade. This is not a small knife. And so I'm going to do a bunch of size comparisons. I just made a video. You may see this video first or the other video first. I'm going to upload them at about the same time, where I explain why I do so many size comparisons. But the abridged version is I want people to be able to see their knives, the knives that they own, up against the knife that I'm reviewing. And people own different knives. So if you don't want to look at a bunch of size comparisons, go ahead and fast forward through them. You can probably see where they end. But in any event, let's start the size comparisons with the WE Roxi 4. Oh, wait a minute, it's the same knife. Or it's not. This is actually the prototype. I own the prototype. This is one of 4 prototypes made. I believe Zelric and his brother own 2 of them. Another one's in a private collection. And I own the other one. I was overjoyed to get it. You can see where it says prototype right there. And we'll cover some of the differences between the prototype and the production version later on in the video, but let's continue with the sizes. And so another big knife that you can see is the ZT0452 CF. This is the BWB version, and this is the ZT0562. So you can see, much larger than the 5.62, approximately the same size as the very large 4.52. You know, Nick Shabazz is always talking about how the 4.52 is a large knife. Well, that's no exception either. Here's the Rat 1, Ontario Rat 1. As you can see, it's bigger than the Rat 1. And, well, let's get a couple other ones here. Let's get a couple Benchmades. This is the Benchmade Contigo, to give you a good idea of the difference. And the Contigo is sort of the big brother to the Benchmade 940. And so you can see it's really about the same size as the Contigo, and the Contigo is a very large knife. It's a workhorse knife. The more EDC size is the Benchmade 940. This is the Benchmade Super Freak and the Benchmade Griptilian. So you can see it's much larger than the Griptilian, another EDC classic. So again, this is very, very much size for EDC. This is bigger, so just be aware when you get the, if and when you get the WE Roxi 4, that you understand that it's that big. And it even dwarfs the Super Freak, which is larger than the Griptilian. Here it is against the Benchmade Bugout, and then we'll move on to, and again, very EDC sized, much bigger than this. Then we'll move on to some Spydercos. Here's the Spyderco Shaman. Again, much bigger than the Shaman. Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Much bigger than that. And the Shaman's not a small knife. Here's the Manix 2. And this is probably the closest one that people want to see. This is the Yojimbo. And so let's take a look at really the size of the Yojimbo. And I'll also bring out one more knife, which is a fixed blade. So a couple people may have seen me open this up. This is the Max Knives Fred Perrin and Michael Janich collaboration. It looks strikingly like a smaller handled Yojimbo. And so you can see, first of all, that the Yojimbo and the Max Knives knife are very similarly sized as far as the blade length. So you can use either one as a stand-in for the other with respect to that, even though the handle is much shorter. Whoop. Drop that. And then you can see the difference in blade size between the Yojimbo and the Roxi 4. And so the blade, you can see, is much larger, and the handle is much larger on this one. And so the reason that gets them to be a little bit important is because a lot of people who are going to be looking at a Wharncliffe blade knife are probably going to be considering whether to get the Yojimbo or the Roxi 4 or the Bestech Malware or the Roxi 2. Now the Roxi 2 is one I don't own. I thought I was a little small. I'm not into small knives, as many people know on this channel if they watch the channel. But I may check into it at some point. One of the key differences that you should just be aware of is that the Roxi 2, I believe, was an M390 full titanium knife. This is S35VN with full titanium. And then of course the Yojimbo is G10 with it normally comes with S30V. This is the Blade HQ exclusive with CPM M4 DLC coated. And so you should be aware of that. There's also some differences, and this is not necessarily a battle, but I do want to point out some differences during this review, and then I'll get into more just about the Roxi 4. So some of the differences, obviously, because people, like I said, are probably considering one of these two knives with purchase. Both of them are fantastic, but just some things to consider. This Yojimbo has a hollow grind, and what a hollow grind is it means there's a curve here. Where you have the flat right here, and then as the grind descends to the edge, you have a curve. If you look at you're going to see it curve in like this to a point. It curves in like that to a point. Whereas in a normal V grind, which is what the Roxi 4 has, you're going to see it go to a point like this. It's just a straight V. And that would be normal flat grind. So those are some of the differences there. Also keep in mind, obviously, the opening holes are a little different. There's a fuller here. And we'll get to more of that later when I talk about the specifics of this knife. As far as weight, these are not that different in weight in the hand, to be honest, even though this is a much larger knife. This is probably a little bit heavier, but it's not noticeably so. And, you know, I don't really use scales. I don't think, you know, if people are fighting for every 1/10 of an ounce, you know, probably this isn't the channel for you to select your knives. You're probably not going to notice a 1/10 of an ounce or even, you know, 1/2 of an ounce in your pocket. So I'm more concerned with what feels just too heavy to carry on a regular basis. I'll let you know, if that's the case. Both of these are excellent options as far as weight. I don't see any problem with either one. Now, obviously the locking mechanism is different. You have the compression lock with Spyderco here, and you have a frame lock here. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and move the Yojimbo to the side, and let's talk just about the WE Roxi 4. So, what's good about this knife? There's a lot of great things. The fit and finish on this are excellent. As I said before, WE Knives just does an excellent job on fit and finish all around on all their knives. On this one in particular, when I order knives, I normally will have them quality check the knives. I almost never do when I order WE knives, and because I just sort of know that if I order one, I'm confident that I'm going to get a good quality piece that doesn't have centering issues and doesn't have fit and finish issues. WE is just excellent with that. Another thing that I'll tell you I really like is the ano job. The anodization is really, really nice here. It has nice patterning. Gives the knife a great overall look. Striking in the pocket, especially because you have a milled titanium clip that also gets that also has the anodization. So you know, on the outside of the pants, if people notice the clip, they can notice the nice ano job there. The hardware is fantastic. I like the gold or bronzish gold hardware there. And one of the things I'll point out is that's actually very different. This finish is very different than the prototype. The anodization on the prototype, obviously you can see, it's very different. Now you can tell me which one you like better. This is more of shades of greens and browns, and this is blues. But it's very interesting that they went this way as far as this way. I like both. I'm fine with both. I'm actually kind of a little surprised they didn't just go a little further with the flame anodization on both of them and change the colors a little bit so that they could offer these as two different flame ano options. Because we also, is one of the things they're great for, is offering several color options. Now, as I said before, the ones in the production version are only offered in the plain titanium and this flame anodization. But I'm very happy with the overall look of the handle and the design. The holes here are nice. The lanyard hole is perfectly placed, doesn't get in the way. I'm very, very happy with that because I don't usually put lanyard holes on my knives. I think most people don't. I mean, lanyard holes, I should say. I don't put lanyards on my knives, and I think most people don't. The back spacer is also attractive. It has jimping, which gives you a little bit extra grip, and so that's another good thing. The milling on the pocket clip is excellent. I do get a little concerned with this cutout here on the pocket clip. It does relieve the tension a little bit of the pocket clip, which is great, but it also makes it feel like, you know, I'm a little bit nervous when I put it in my pocket. I'm pretty sure that's unfounded, but it's a thing, so you should just be aware of it. The pivots, so the hardware is very different on these as well, because the colors of the anodization are different. You have blue hardware on this one, you have gold hardware on this one. So again, something to just be aware of as far as comparison to the prototype. So again, blue hardware versus gold hardware. Gold hardware is what comes on the production version. The other thing that's different is the blade finish. So if you notice, this is, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this is more of a satin, and this is more of a stonewash satin. So you can see this is sort of has like a working stonewash type of finish, and this one has just a satiny type of finish. So that's one of the other things, whoops, hit the camera there, that you should just be aware of as well. Now, what are some other, another good thing about the knife is this is a 4-inch Wharncliffe. Now, just to bring the Yojimbo back for a minute, this is a shorter blade. This was actually designed by Michael Janich to be a fighting knife in, I believe, Filipino martial arts knife fighting. you would think that it would have a larger blade. I think the reason he made it a little bit shorter was because Wharncliffes can be a little unwieldy when they get too long. That being said, I do not believe that this is unwieldy in any way. And even when I'm back on the handle, it's extremely comfortable. When I'm up in the choil, again, extremely comfortable. You can even put your ring finger in that choil and use this to really do detail work right here, and that is comfortable. So I think the ergonomics on this are actually well designed, pretty well designed. This is straight, so it doesn't melt into your hand as far as ergonomically, but the rest of the ergonomics on this knife are pretty good. And you don't really notice this being bad ergonomically. It just doesn't melt into your hand. The billboarding on this is kept to a minimum, which is good. You've got the TKT, the Todd Knife and Tool logo. Got a little bit of the knife pivot lube. I just put some on here, so leaking out, but this is, now the pivot is the General Wee pivot. One of the things I don't like about the production version versus the original version is I thought this was really attractive. The flame anodization of the Wii logo and the pivot. I really wish this was on here. I really like this. I think it adds a really, really nice touch. Maybe you guys disagree. It could be that they got rid of this because the spacing on the anodization here was a lot more spaced out, and so maybe it worked better with this. Maybe it wouldn't have worked as well with this. I don't know. I didn't design the knife, but or I didn't build the knife, but I really like on the prototype. That would have been a detail I really would have loved to see on the final production version. All right. What's great about this knife is the action and deployment. The deployment, so first of all, you have the flipper tab here, which is very minimal, which has a landing pad over here, right here, for your finger, and it fires reliably 100% of the time. The action is really smooth coming back down. It's not completely drop shutty, but it is so smooth coming back down. And the other great thing is, obviously, you can thumb roll it out, you can thumb flick it out, you can Spidey flick it out, or middle finger flick if you prefer. And you can either do that on the fuller past the hole, or you can do it in the hole. And so there's a lot of really great ways to deploy this that just make this really, really fidget friendly. And I'm very, very happy about that. Nothing makes me happier than a really fidget friendly knife. So if you're a fidgeter, you need the Wii Roxi 4. Got to do it again. And, all right, so what's bad about this knife? Like I said, the pocket clip, while it's really nice and anodized, this cutout makes it feel a little weak, even though it does relieve some of the tension. It just feels like, I know it's not weak. I know, because it's titanium, it's not weak, but it just feels like I have to be a little careful putting it in the pocket. I don't love that, but yeah. So the price on this, I believe this is around $250, $260. I don't know exactly. Go ahead and check your local website, Blade HQ or any of those retailers. But I believe it was around $250, $260. But this is, I think for the price, that's a good price. Good, but not great. For Wii knives, it's starting to get pretty expensive. I know Rayot is very expensive. The reason I sort of put this in the bad category is it's a good but not great price. Wii's prices are getting more and more closer, I shouldn't say more closer, they're getting closer and closer to $300, 300, you know, I could see them creeping up to 350 and maybe even, you know, sticking around somewhere around there, so that they're priced still under Rayot, but over your Benchmades and Spydercos and things like that. And I think that's where they're trying to carve out in the marketplace. And as companies like Best Tech start to come out with more premium things, I feel like they're pushing we to say, all right, well, if you're coming out at a knife around 220 or 230 or 250, we need to be at 300 or 320. And I don't love that, but I recognize that that is part of the market and part of what happens. I do hope as more and more companies enter the game that it does force some downward pressure on prices. Let's talk about, what else don't I like about this? You know, I don't have a ton to say as far as what I don't like about this. I really, really like this knife. So let's talk about some conclusions. Like I said, this is a 4-inch Wharncliffe S35VN blade with a fuller, stonewashed, titanium frame lock. Frame lock has, looks like an over-travel stop over here. I think so. It's got a nice pivot. Good hardware, good, nice gold hardware, great location on the lanyard hole, good backspacer. It's just an overall well-designed ergonomically knife. As I said, the ergonomics aren't perfect on the back part of the handle because it's a little blocky here, but the choil is fantastic, and it even, if you put your middle finger in the choil, allows for a lot of fine detail work, despite this really long 4-inch blade that sometimes I know can feel unwieldy on a Wharncliffe, but does not at all here. Zelric and Seth, you guys have a great design, great job designing this. Obviously, I like this knife because I liked the prototype so much that I bought another one so that I could not just play with it at my house, which is what I do with the prototype, but now I could take this out and, you know, feel like I don't need to worry about messing it up. I know some people have commented, hey, it's a prototype, it's probably not going to be, you know, worth crazy amounts of money at any point. I'm not really worried about it being worth crazy amounts of money. This is one of 4 in the world of this, and, you know, even if it never gets to be worth any more than this, I want to keep this nice because that's the respect I have for the design and the designer with their prototype. It just is, it's a great knife. And so it's so great that despite the small size of the Roxi 2, I feel like I may have to check it out. Won't be the next knife I buy, but if I'll keep an eye out, and if I see one priced well on one of the groups where somebody's selling one, I'll probably jump on it. And so that's sort of where I'm at on that. So again, final conclusions. Yeah, go ahead and get this. It is fantastic. Unlike the Yojimbo, it is not intended anyway to be a fighting knife. I'll leave it to Michael Janich to let you know whether or not this would actually be effective in that role, or anyone who may know better than I do. But if you are considering the Yojimbo 2 or the Roxi 4, I'm going to say, obviously, I like them both. Get both if you can. If you can't, honestly, if it were me, I would probably get the Roxi 4 first, and then go get the Yojimbo. Now, I'll do a battle at some point between these, so you can sort of see how they score, and I'll keep an open mind. I wouldn't mind, you know, awarding it to the Yojimbo if it wins in the different categories, but just based on sitting here, you know, using the knives in EDC and playing, you know, with them fidgeting in my house, in my chair, while I'm watching TV, I'm very happy with the Roxi 4, and at this point, would recommend it for somebody considering both of these two. So, again, I'll keep an open mind in the battle, and I'll go ahead and I am planning on doing a series of battles. Some battles you may want to look out for. I may do something between Manix and PM2, which has been done before, but I'd like to give my perspective on it. Maybe a 940 and Griptilian. I might throw in the CRKT Slacker, which is basically that size and much cheaper, just to give a perspective on a budget knife, into that battle. But obviously it's not quite in the same class. But yeah, I've got a couple of things like that coming, and I think you've already seen sort of I did a bailout versus bug out video. If you guys want to see more of stuff like that, please let me know in the comments. In any event, please like and subscribe to my video, to my channel, I should say. Like my video, subscribe to my channel, and please leave comments. It definitely helps the channel. Thanks so much for watching. I know this is one of my longer reviews, but I thought, based on how much I like this and what I had to say about it, I felt it was justified to go a little bit over my normal time. I usually try to keep it short. Anyway, I'll shut up. Have a great day.